All right. So hopefully you can hear us. I think it's recording correctly. Hello. Today, just for like 15, 20 minutes, I'm gonna explain what wholesaling is, how I do it, how I did it full time for a while. Again, I'm doing full-time Air Force work. That's why I'm not doing it currently. I don't need video for this. Sweet. So the biggest thing about wholesaling is that you are buying contracts or finding contracts to sell to someone else. So what is a contract? A contract is a written offer on a house that you get accepted by the seller, and then you are now the holder of that accepted contract and you are selling that contract. So all you're doing is you're selling that piece of paper to someone else and you essentially get a finder's fee for that. The best way to do this is finding motivated sellers. That's 99%. If there's no motivation from the seller, then it's not going to be a very good wholesale deal because if they're not motivated, they probably won't get it's for most case scenario, and what we'll talk about today is just price. So what you'll be looking for in this circumstance, in the simplest of terms, is you will be trying to find a house less than market value. So market value, let's say we just jump on Zillow, we go to Dallas, Texas, and we click Dallas, Texas. Cool. We have this house. We are going to go what is currently for sale. Let's just scroll in on this random area right here. Just saw a little cheaper houses here. Sweet. So I'm going to click on this house. This house is for sale for $299,000. It's not a perfect estimate, but you can use the Zillow estimate, which is called the Zestimate right here, and that approximate is approximately the price. This number works really well in like suburbs and tract home areas where all the houses kind of look the same. They're done by the same builder. Um, but comping is finding the actual value of it. So we say comping a house means that you are finding what you think the value is. This is something that real estate agents do when they list a house. They'll say, hey, I have these comps. And what a comp is a comparable property. So for example, if you go, I think I just had, shoot, let's just find any house here in Minnesota. I was just looking at Cold Spring. So I use this, I now use this software PropWire. I used to pay for Privy when I was doing this full time. Privy, I think, is a little better, but this is free. Privy is pretty expensive. It's like 150 a month or so. Maybe it's cheaper if you buy it by the year. Maybe it's like 100 a month. I remember spending like 1,500 bucks or so for a year. So comps are a specific property that is a like property. So the great thing about PropWire and these new softwares is they can give you comps. So on this top left, you can click comp, you can edit all the things to make it more to what you are looking for, but it's essentially a like property in a close proximity of everything. So location, bed and bath, square footage, the year built. So we can see this is the subject property. So if we are trying to figure out how much 304 17th Avenue South is, we could potentially use these properties as comps. So we can see this house, actually that's estimated, so we won't use that, but this house was sold for 320 and it had 4 beds, but it had one less bathroom than ours, but it was a little bit bigger square footage and so on. And you can essentially look at what these comparable houses are and you can find an average. Some people are really good at comping. You can watch hundreds of hours of YouTube videos on how to comp. If you want more information, I'd say the best person on how to comp is either Jamil Damji or oh man, what's his other name? Wow, I can't even think of it right now. But Jamil Damji has a bunch of good videos on how to comp properties, whether you're just doing it on Zillow, Redfin, or PropWire. And the other good comper is the owner of PropWire, Jerry Norton. That's his name. So Jerry Norton or Jamil Damji, just jump on YouTube and start listening, watching these YouTube videos, and you can learn how to comp. So why is comping important? So you need to figure out how much a house is worth, because then you can find out how much you can wholesale it. 99% of the time, you will be wholesaling a contract. So you'll be selling a house, selling that contract to an investor. These investors, for kind of the beginning of your wholesaling journey, will be looking to flip a property. So we are looking for motivated sellers with distressed properties that probably need some work done, whether it's a light rehab, just needs a new kitchen, it has some flood damage, it has crappy windows, something has stopped a normal family from just moving in, getting a normal loan from a bank, and calling it home. So yes, you are almost always selling these to investors, and how we find these properties is mass. There's a massive different array of finding these properties. So the one I like the most is driving for dollars. This is, no, let me do this quick. Driving for dollars. So this is essentially driving through driving through towns, driving through cities, and seeing distressed looking homes, writing down the address, getting a gigantic list, coming back home, skip tracing those, which skip tracing is finding the owner's name, the owner's phone number, and either calling, texting, or emailing them and getting a hold of them. Driving for dollars is great because you don't have many competitors. So everyone buys lists of like absent homeowners or recently divorced or what else? There's a bunch behind on mortgage payments, things like that. But no one, even AI, can't really drive around a neighborhood and look for a broken garage door, a newspaper stacking up in the door, a broken window, the lawn becoming long and unmowed, snow not being shoveled out or snow blown, things like that. Things that show that the seller is not in the greatest position. So that's why I like driving for dollars. But otherwise, you can buy lists and just blatantly cold call, mail these types of things. There's probably 10 to 100 different lists that you could find. What else? And then another way is agents, which I really like. So you can talk to agents. It's really great because they are in the business of selling the house. So you both want to accomplish the same thing. Meeting in the middle is obviously a little difficult, but talking with agents is easy because their phone number is right on the listing. So you can call them and you can have a lot of good conversations. So yeah, we'll just talk about those three beginning, but I would recommend to start driving for dollars and calling agents, because these are what we call off-market deals. So they are not on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, essentially what you see on like Zillow, Redfin, and then agents, you are talking to on-market properties. So things like Zillow, Redfin. Sweet. So when we find a distressed property, just because a property is distressed does not mean that it's a motivated seller. Because remember, the goal is find a motivated seller. So how do we do that? Just like I talked about those three things. And now we're kind of pushing quickly because I want to make this video quick. We have the conversation. So the conversation I like to use the acronym COMPT. I don't know what word that is really, but it's condition, occupancy, motivation, price, and timeline. So when you jump on a call with the seller or with the real estate agent or with a sister of or with a daughter of a mom that just went in a nursing home, if you can walk through these 5 steps, you can usually tell if you'll be able to make it a deal or if it's something that you should not waste your time on. So condition is just condition of the property. If it's horrible, if it's turnkey, if they just renovated it, if it hasn't been lived in for 8 years, that all makes a difference. Occupancy, this can kind of drive motivation, but occupancy is essentially if there's someone living there currently, because if there isn't someone living there currently, it usually drives motivation a little bit. And then motivation, whether it's death or debt or divorce. They call it the 3 or 4 Ds or something. So death, debt, divorce. They moved for a job. I don't know, they've been having issues with drugs or alcohol, things like that. And then obviously price is something that is always talked about, but price kind of you want to hold off on as long as possible until you get all this other information. So then you can kind of see where your brain is sitting and where the seller's brain is sitting. And then lastly, timeline. So sometimes they need it off their hands immediately. So if you can give them a cash offer for your house, for their house, and they can have that money in their hands in 10 days, that's great. Sometimes are their house has been sitting on the market for 3 or 4 months and they still have 6 months to move. So they're not in a huge rush. That's also something to note where maybe it'll be a conversation and then you can tell them, hey, I'll check back in 3 months and see if it's still available, because timeline is a big factor with actually finding their motivation, right? So if they still have 6 months to sell the house, they're not going to be that motivated and they won't flex on the price or terms that you're looking for. So I'll do a later video. It's Saturday, almost evening, so I'm not gonna call anybody. So my recommended times, Monday through Friday for calling is 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Ish, obviously. And then Saturday, I like to do no more than like 9 to 3. And that's just from my experience, and that's from working with mostly real estate agents as well. If you're not calling a real estate agent, you sometimes want to dodge the meal times. So calling during dinner, people aren't really going to love getting a call about their junky house that's been just a zit on their brain for the last year or two during their dinner, right? So maybe call them a little earlier, call them right after work, shoot them a text, see what time is best to call them. But that's my recommended time to call real estate agents or the actual owners. Sweet. So COMPT, that's one to call. There's a billion YouTube videos to watch of people cold calling. If you want, I can record one as well, just so you can see kind of my flow. But lastly, how we actually will find an agent to call is, let's go over here. So I really like to start with very, very easy. You can use keywords on Zillow. So let's search. So right now I'm on Zillow. I don't know. You'll get used to whatever service you are using, obviously, but right in the more here, you can search keywords. So if you just search motivated, apply, boom, 319 results. Let's take home type, just a single family homes. Now we have 264 homes that have motivated somewhere in there. Boom. So right there. motivated seller. It's been on the market for 63 days. You can Google average days on market in Dallas, Texas right now. So it looks like from Redfin, a lot of good data on Redfin. The median days on market is 42. So 42. This house has been on for 63. That's 50% longer than the average time. So the sellers are starting to sweat a little bit, probably. This doesn't look like much of a rehab. Actually, it's definitely older. It looks a little dinged up. So maybe this actually could be a good flip. So what I would be looking at for this is there's the agent's phone number. I would call them and ask them about the condition, the occupancy, the motivation, why are they motivated, the price, and then the timeline, how quick they're looking to move. You can also use some hints as well, like looking at the market value and then scrolling down to the price history. Looks like Texas, you can't see the last time it was sold, so no idea. They could have bought it just 6 months ago and now they're stuck at a certain price, or they could have bought it 30 years ago and they're just still trying to make as much money as they can. So the last thing I'll hit on for this is, so yeah, this is a perfect example of something you'd call on. Let's just check one more. So let's try and find a little junkier of a house. Maybe this thing. All right. Yep, this thing, not amazing. Actually, it's kind of renovated. This one looks pretty flipped as well. Let's just go back to that original one. So this original one needs a little work, in my opinion. This estimate's still 264. So we're going to call and we are going to figure out how much we can pay for this. And what that means is how much an investor can pay for this. So we need the price to be the standard rule in wholesaling is 70% of the market value once rehabbed. So what does that mean? So if this house obviously hasn't sold at 275 for 2 months now, but if it was renovated, would it sell for 275? Yeah, probably. How do I know that? I do not know that. But with a little more research, I would jump in. Actually, let's just do that really quick so we can throw this address into PropWire. Click on it. Boom. This also has estimated value at 264. We go to comps. And I don't know this area at all. But it looks like there's one not sold. This one was sold for 500, so that's a little crazy. That is not a good one either. This one was built in 1950, so that's so, oh, you can't sort on this. So this one was sold for 239. This one was sold for 250. And again, Texas is a bad state because it's not public data to show how much the price is. I've mostly worked in New Mexico and Minnesota, which Minnesota does show price, so that's really nice. But the estimate's usually pretty close. So 250, 237, 262, 224. So obviously this house is really overpriced already. So this is where it comes in with a little guesswork. Let's say this house is worth exactly what it says on this estimate, 264. PropWire also says 264 on the estimate. So we need to get this house for 264,000, 70% of, so the market value MV is 264,000, and we need to rehab it. It would probably be a pretty light rehab, so probably $20,000. And then we need to find the calculation. So we bring in our handy dandy calculator. 264 So we need it for 184,000 minus the rehab. So obviously, does this seem attainable on a nice-ish house like this? Not really. Can we, because we would need it for, wait, that was, oops, well, we lost history. I don't remember if it was 184 or 164. But if we put it under contract at 184 and then rehab it for 20 grand, that would be a pretty good flip for someone. Or not even a flip, but someone keeping it as a rental, depending on what the numbers look like in that area. And that is kind of how, and then we'd probably take a wholesale slash finder's fee of $5,000 to $10,000. I think the average wholesale fee right now is like $17,000, but I think wholesalers get pretty greedy with their finder's fee. And I've never found really good enough deals to really push that 15 to 20,000 assignment. So wholesale fee, finder's fee, assignment fee is all the same thing. I've never really found a deal good enough to be 15 to 20 grand. But yeah, that is essentially it. Again, the goal of wholesaling is to find a motivated seller, put it under contract, which means getting an offer accepted, and then selling that piece of paper. So this is only half the battle, is actually finding the deal. And then the second part is finding someone to buy the deal, which I am very confident in. So no big issue there. If you find a good deal and get it under contract, we'll be able to, it's called disposition that pretty easily, hopefully, if it's a good enough deal. The last thing, just overall motivation for yourself in wholesaling. It can be pretty grindy because you're going to not be very good on the phones, not be very good at comping, not good at finding deals. So it's going to feel like you're just hitting a brick wall for weeks and weeks. And I guess I can turn my video on, stop the share. Sweet. So it's going to feel like you aren't really doing anything for probably at least 2 weeks until you, and what that looks like is guess I'll share screen again. So this was my wholesaling Excel sheet. I didn't use any fancy software CRM for actually use it, like keeping track of stuff, but these were all the addresses. So these are dead leads. Like it's just an endless list of stuff. I think I actually deleted it and threw it on a different page. But these are all the agents that I constantly follow up with. These, and then lastly, a calendar that is how many calls I'm making per week. I had some Air Force stuff in there, so these months were a little weak. But you should be making at least 40. If you're just calling real estate agents and you have the correct number, you should be making at least 40 calls a day for multiple weeks until you just get those reps over and over again. And then if you're calling homeowners, it should be way higher than that. You can use dialers to get going a little faster, but I just hand dialed mostly. I did start calling. I did use some trials and paid a little bit for like batch dialer, speed dialers, things like that. Because I was calling some massive towns lists. I think I started calling home violations for county issues. So people like with long grass and things like that, because the county actually brings in, essentially the county drives for dollars for you because they are looking for like town violations and things like that. But yeah, this is my leads. I essentially work it left to right. So no luck getting in contact yet. People I need to call, people I want to follow up now. These are delayed. And then this, I just had a big old stack of people I needed to write an offer to. And then when I wrote an offer to, I drug it over to offer out, and then dead is where it went when it was fully dead and I knew it. So again, on the motivation, it's going to be multiple weeks. You'll not see a deal or money probably. Like some people get lucky, get it within the first week, first few days, whatever. You got to give it at least 6 months or 6 weeks before you start changing what you do. So just keep grinding, hitting the phones, and yeah, there is no better practice than just jumping on the phones and getting that cold calling over with. The first time is extremely scary, and then by the fifth time, you'll feel way more confident. And then when you start understanding that, a big thing that Grant Cardone talks about is you're not getting paid $5,000 for that one phone call. You're getting paid $5,000 for how many phone calls it got paid to get to that correct one. So if it took you 500 calls, or if it took you 5,000 calls to get your $5,000, you're making $1 every single time you hear that phone ring, right? So that doesn't sound too bad when you put it like that. So get to 1,000 cold calls, and then we can start talking to see if you can need to switch things up or see a different strategy. I guess the last thing that I kind of forgot to talk about is make sure to stay in the median home price. So I chose a house right here, 274. That is probably perfect. The Dallas median sales price is 390. I'd say half, 50% to all the way up to median home price is the best, or is the area that you should be in. So you can even set that as a home value, or the price as the minimum and maximum. And that is about all I got. Let me know what questions you have. I'm obviously always available for text or phone call, and good luck.